First, I want to say I loved you on Search Party. I was like crying laughing at some parts. Like it was just so funny. Yeah, I guess I do want to ask you about that character, what it was like. Because, okay, because I imagine that character as probably not written as a Black woman.
Yeah.
So I was like, how did you go about getting that role? And tell me about like, yeah, actually being in that moment in that set. I don't know, vague.
Yes. So actually, Cassidy Diamond was a recast.
Mhm.
So it was not written for a Black woman. It was another woman in the role, but they got into it and they realized, like, actually, we have to recast this. So they went back to the drawing board to, find the right actress for this. So because I knew it was a recast, I did take the audition seriously. And, post my procedural, I really wanted to do shows that I would watch. So this show, I got the audition and then I went back and watched the first episode and then I binged the first 2 seasons because,
Yeah.
oh my God, the show is amazing.
Yes.
So I sent in a tape. They flew me out to New York. I met with Alia and, the producers, and I went to lunch and I got the role. When I got the role, they said, vocal fry. That was the only the only character trait, right? Well, I am horrible. So I was like, okay, I see you're a vocal fry. And I did some research, right, to make sure that, everything that I did was gonna be, authentic, right? So in that research, I discovered that, vocal fry, when women do the vocal fry, it's really an attempt to like lower the voice. But because the way the vocal folds work, when you put that kind of pressure on your folds, it creates this frying effect, right? So men do it too. When men are trying to bring their voices down, a classic example is Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne has a vocal fry. But because he's a man, no one, makes a fuss about it. But when women do it, it's just like, oh my God, it's so terrible. So because I knew that it was an attempt to bring the voice down in an attempt to make yourself seem more professional, because, the business world says, oh, your voices are too high, whatever. So women have compensated and overcompensated by, trying to make their voices lower. And so by doing that, it creates a frying sound. But then I was like, I'm also a Black woman, so why can't I have all the vocal tics? So I added in some pops. I was just like, just make it colorful, just make everything colorful. So I had a really good time, like crafting and creating the character.
Yeah, and it was so fun to watch, I guess, because I haven't seen a character like that ever on television. So it was just so funny to watch. So yeah, great job.
Thank you.
I did. So you're on the next season of You, which has become this like massive hit of a show. What was that audition process like, and how excited are you to be on the show? Yeah.
Yes. So I was actually a fan of You before I got the audition to do season 3. So on my last jaunt out of the country, 2019, before the world changed for Christmas, I went to Barcelona and I went alone. And I usually have like a companion show in the hotel room. And I was like, what's this whole You show? It's like, do you really want to watch a show about serial killers when you're out of the country by yourself? Yes. So I binged it. I fell in love with the season 1. I came back to America and they were in LA. And I was like, okay, I could do LA in LA. But then the pandemic happened and I was trapped in LA. And I was like, I can't be here and here. So no. But then I got the call that the producers were interested in me for season 3. And it was one of those things where it was like, wow, this is synchronicity. Like I had this boundary that I only want to do shows that I watch. And this was the first time that I had watched a show before, I had gotten the audition. So, they wanted to see if I could play in that world, because coming from Search Party, where, the comedy was way more broad, they were like, we have to make sure you can play in this world. And I was like, oh, baby, yes, I got this. This is not a problem.
Yeah. So tell me about your character and tease as much as you can before the season comes out.
Okay, so I play Sharon Conrad, and she is the queen of the Madre Linda. She has a fabulous husband and perfectly imperfect children, and she's a momfluencer, right? So she's found a way to, bank on her perfection and also sharing, all of her mistakes to help, everyone else. But Madre Linda is her kingdom, and Joe and Love, who are now recently married and new killer parents, they chose Madre Linda to settle in. And so the season 3, I like to break down the episodes like this. 1 through 4 is an introduction to, Joe and Love's marriage, and also an introduction to, Madre Linda and the characters of Madre Linda. 5 through 7 is everything that you thought you knew about these characters goes upside down. And 8 through 10 is you're at the top of the roller coaster and there's nowhere to go but down. And we go like real fast. So season 3 is, even if I wasn't in season 3, I'm pretty sure season 3 would be my favorite season.
Oh, gosh. You're hyping this up because I love season 2 so much. And I just watched the first episode, so I'm so excited. Oh my gosh.
It's juicy. It's juicy.
Okay, I'm so excited. I'm getting like, okay, let's see. Why is it important for you to be, you're an out woman, and you're open about your relationship. Why was it important for you to be out? Because not everyone feels comfortable coming out these days. So why was it important for you?
I just, honestly, my road to myself, has been a winding one. I had a straight phase. I grew up in Virginia, I grew up in a hair salon, and I grew up in the 90s. And in the 90s, like, if you didn't display any like gender issues, they just made the assumption that you were straight. And, I liked to dress. I had no problems with it. And, I was the straightest little lesbian ever. In my family, on my mom's side of the family, it's chock full of lesbos, okay? Specifically the mom's side, cousins, aunts, the whole thing. But in Virginia, my family's culture around, LGBT issues is just don't do that stuff over here. So people would have to disappear to like have their lives. When I discovered that I was not straight, I was about 25 here in New York, and I had my first experience. And about a year and a half after that, I was like, actually, I'm just gay, and I have been just taking them everywhere for no good goddamn reason. This is terrible. Yeah. So when I found out, I was like, I'm telling everybody. Yeah. Because here's the thing, as a woman, sexual pleasure is not part of the conversation, right? So when I was, having all of these sexual experiences, and I had a lot of them, not gonna lie, I was getting it in, all right? But I was like also in search of pleasure. I was like, why don't I feel anything? So wherever I looked, online, having conversations with other women, it's normalized for women to not have pleasure during sex, and for sex to be, totally centered around the man's pleasure. Sex begins when he's hard and it's over when he's done. And that's it. And so when I discovered who I was, part of me being out is like, ladies, if you're having the issue I'm having, venture out. Maybe your body is telling you something. I always say I had a straight brain and a gay body. And when things like linked up, I was like, I gotta tell the world. And also, quite frankly, this is the safest time ever to
Yeah.
be out, and with so many people who have done that work of coming out, by the time, I became like hyper visible for me, doing a news story, like actually like having my PR agent make phone calls to say, hey, everybody, there's no project coming up. There's no business happening. We just want to tell you she gay. That just didn't feel right to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we've already done that. So, for me, it was like, I'm going to tell you when I have an event happening in my life.
Mhm.
And for me, it was my marriage. Now, I got gay married in 2018, and I became a part of a new but growing relationship status, and that's called gay divorced. So that happened swiftly after. But I'm very happy and still gay in my new relationship with my partner, Jessica Aguilar, former world champion in MMA. And that's how I move, Taylor. I'm like, hey, like, this is what's going on in my life, but I also am not trying to reinforce and normalize, straightness as like the default.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you said it was basically like a PSA. Like you were like, hello, everyone. I want you all to know
Hey, everybody.
that this might be
I'm
the
gay.
case. Yeah,
It's that's not my style. It's just not my style.
That's so funny though. Well, thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, I think I relate to it, as I'm from Texas, and yeah, it took a while for me to come out. And then once I started coming out, I was like, everyone's gonna know. Like, I'm not hiding anymore. Like,
I ain't gonna hide nothing. I'ma kiss her, hold her hand. If you got a problem, talk to Jesus. But we good over here.
Exactly.
We are happy. We are happy.
Exactly. Have you ever either like faced any challenges in the industry because of anything about your identity, like woman, Black, or queer, anything? Or were there challenges that you expected and were pleasantly surprised that they didn't happen? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. There's a new devil at every level, right? So it's like, getting into the business and getting work, there are so many Black actors and actresses that have broken barriers before, I got in. So, it wasn't that it was like, oh, I couldn't get roles solely because I was Black, right? But, once I got in the job, I learned how the business and the culture hasn't changed, but the numbers of people that they let in has. So what happens is you just have a larger amount of people that get traumatized the same way, right? Because the culture doesn't change, So instead of one, you get 50. Everybody got fucked up hair. It's terrible. So yes, that was definitely a challenge, and it still is a challenge for a lot of us. But, one of the ways that I circumvented that challenge was I solved my own problem. So after I left my procedural, and I was like, I had a bald spot in the center of my head. This is all my hair. P.S. You can see this I ain't faking no funk here, okay? But this is growth, and it's also healing, because in 2017, doing that procedural and the wigs, this was where my hair was in 2017. And so when I left that show and decided to heal internally, I was like, I also need to heal physically. And so I put on my cosmetic chemist cap, and I did some research into non-white hair cultures to, decipher, like, how are the Indian culture, Eritrean culture, Ethiopian culture, how are they growing and maintaining their hair with these natural ingredients? And so in that research, I created what is now the 4 Naturals treatment. And in 2019, when I did my first 4 Naturals treatment, you know, I noticed my porosity had changed. I had curl definition, and I had length retention, and also the durability of my hair had greatly increased. And after 3 treatments, my hair was completely different. It was like a completely different head of hair. So when I saw how I had changed and healed and solved my problems, I was like, I'm going to make this happen for every Black person with type 4 hair. And so I created the 4 Naturals treatment, and then I opened a 4 Naturals hair spa. Well, the pandemic happened, and, you know, I believe amor fati. I have these like tattoos, amor fati, and that is Latin for love of one's fate or love of one's life. And it's part of the Stoic philosophy. And in that amor fati, it's like everything that happens is either good, and if there's pain, it's necessary. You know, there's something to be learned. But your life, everything that happens in your life is yours. So there's a lot of responsibility there, right? So when when the pandemic happened, I just took it as an opportunity to accelerate my business plan. So now we're pre-launch, we're currently patent pending, dermatologically tested, and it will be available for people online.
Wow. And this to me really ties into, I know a few years ago, there was that big movement in Hollywood with Black women who were talking about like, it was like, I think it was like, I don't want to name names, but it was a lot of like the really prominent Black women actors who were talking about like their hair and how the industry didn't know what to do with them sometimes. So they would have to like, you know, like do their own hair before the set, or just like deal with like really weird wigs or whatever. And I guess that's kind of your experience. So that kind of aligns.
It's not kind of, that's exactly my experience. And what we're facing is a willful ignorance at this point. Because there has been a lot of strides in the business world, the business of hair. Andre Walker created a whole hair typing system that has not been adopted by cosmetology boards, and it hasn't been adopted by the hair unions. So there is a willful ignorance about our textured hair. And me, a little old actress, you know, I did some research and found founded a company and created a natural, a plant-based a treatment that is with plant-based ingredients, you know, that it's not chemical, it's not, you know, trying to transform your hair from curly to straight. It's all about enhancing the hair that you have and making sure that, you know, it's protected and that it gives you everything that you've been looking for, the manageability, the predictability, because that's a big issue with our hair is that, you know, one day you use a product and you do it a certain way, but the next time you use it, it doesn't go the same way. And that in and of itself is a frustrating experience to have with all of the pressures that we have to deal with to assimilate into our culture and to be seen as professional. To have your hair undermine you in that way, it's really hard. It adds stress. So, you know, for me, a little old actress, I solved a problem that we've been having for a millennia. Like there's just a willful ignorance when it comes to our hair.
Yeah. Yes. Well, hopefully it's changing, and hopefully this is part of that change too, and hopefully it can be adopted more widely, especially in Hollywood. So yeah, people don't have to go through that again.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, that was answer my next question. So my last question is just it's kind of broad, but it's about this like debate about, you know, like LGBTQ actors playing straight roles or the opposite.
Uh-oh, you went mute.
I'm muted. Hello?
Yeah, okay, no, I can hear you now.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But just about the debate that, you know, of LGBTQ plus actors playing straight roles or straight actors playing LGBTQ roles, straight cisgender. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on that, just from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when straight actors, I think that Hollywood has a long history of, you know, having straight actors play gay or play trans. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. That's what I'm like when I think I'm alone. But I wasn't. Okay. But I do think that there are enough people who are out now that it doesn't have to be that way. So when it goes that way, there is a disparity there that I don't think is necessary. I think that you can hire gay actors to play gay. And, quite frankly, a lot of us gay people were straight at one point. So I don't see it as a problem going all the way,
Yeah. Yeah, we know. I think
Yeah.
about it, yeah, as, oh, my plant is dying. There's like some weird spots on it. Okay, I'll have to take care of that. But yeah, I mean, I think about it like, thinking about like as we grew up in America, we're kind of not very knowledgeable of like what it means to be white because we have to navigate that as a person of color. And so it's so interesting. It's kind of like the same thing to me. It's like, yeah, like I'm gay, I can play gay, but also like I know straight culture pretty well.
Exactly, because we swim in it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, that's so funny. But yeah, those are all the questions I had for you. I appreciate your time. I can't wait to see what happens to your character on You. I'm also nervous. I hope you make it out alive. We'll see.
I don't want to spoil it. You don't have to watch it.
But yeah, I appreciate your time so much. And thank you. This was so fun. Thank you.
Yes. Have a good one. Thanks, Taylor.
Bye. Bye.